It started with the smell of frosting. Sugary and thick, it wafted up the stairs and wrapped around my throat like a noose. I'd been cautiously optimistic. An 18th birthday is a milestone, right? Even in our house, where I was more of a polite afterthought than a daughter. I'd spent the morning pretending to study, my ears straining for any hint of preparation that involved me. Mom had been bustling in the kitchen for hours. Hope, that stupid, persistent weed, had begun to sprout in my chest. Lena, dinner, my father's voice boomed, uncharacteristically cheerful. I smoothed down my best sweater, a deep green cashmere I'd saved for months to buy for myself. A gift to me, from me. I walked downstairs, the hope now a fragile butterfly in my ribs. The dining table was set with the good china, the kind that only came out for show. In the center was a cake, a massive, professional-looking confection decorated with intricate blue and silver swirls. My breath hitched, and then I read the script written in perfect, looped icing. Happy 16th, champion. Champion. My brother Kyle's nickname, bestowed after he won some obscure regional debate tournament 2 years ago. The name had stuck, a permanent crown in my parents' eyes. The cake was for him. His 16th birthday had been 3 months prior. We'd gone to a steakhouse. I stood frozen in the doorway. My mother fluttered over, wiping her hands on a towel. There you are. Don't just stand there, come sit. We have a celebration. The cake. I managed, my voice a dry leaf. Oh, isn't it gorgeous? She gushed, beaming. I finally found a baker who could recreate the exact design from the debate team's logo. Kyle was so surprised when he saw it earlier. Kyle, already seated at the head of the table usually reserved for Dad, gave a modest, practiced smile. It's cool, Mom. Thanks. My father clapped a hand on my shoulder as I slid into my usual seat, the one facing the wall. Now, Lena, don't feel left out. We have something for you too, of course. The butterfly of hope was now a lead weight, sinking through my stomach. Of course, the qualifier that always preceded my consolation prize. We went through the motions. We ate the roast chicken, my mother extolling Kyle's latest achievements, an A on a physics paper, a leadership role in Model UN. I chewed, the food tasting like sawdust. Finally, my dad pushed back his chair. Present time. Kyle went first. My father, his eyes shining with a pride I'd never seen directed at me, presented a small, velvet box. Kyle opened it with theatrical slowness. Nestled inside was a watch. Not just any watch. It was a sleek, vintage-inspired chronograph with a face like a moonlit pond and a brown leather band. I knew it instantly from my dad's carefully left-open browser tabs over the past month. A Hamilton khaki field. I'd overheard him telling Mom it was a serious watch for a serious young man. An investment. It cost over $800. Kyle's eyes widened with genuine shock. Dad, this is too much. Nonsense, my father boomed. A man needs a proper timepiece. A symbol of responsibility. Of his future. Kyle strapped it on, holding his wrist up to the light. It looked like it belonged there. My mother sniffed, dabbing at her eyes. My little man. Look at you. Then, in the syrupy silence that followed, 3 pairs of eyes turned to me. The air grew thick. My mother's smile became tight. My father cleared his throat. Lena, 18. A legal adult. He steepled his fingers. This is a pivotal age. The choices you make now will define the rest of your life. And so it began. The lecture. It wasn't a birthday wish. It was an audit. A 45-minute soliloquy on my failures, dressed up as concerned guidance. My B+ in calculus, Kyle had gotten an A. My lack of proactive club involvement, Kyle was president of 2. My questionable choice of friends, specifically my best friend Maya, who wore combat boots and wrote poetry about the patriarchy. Kyle's friends were all on the debate team or in STEM clubs. My attitude, which was apparently a persistent cloud of underachievement and ingratitude that hung over their perfect family portrait. We just worry about you, Lena, my mother interjected, her voice a saccharine drip. Kyle has such a clear path. We want you to find your path, too. You need to apply yourself. Stop dreaming and start doing. I sat there. I didn't fidget. I didn't cry. I looked at the cake with my brother's name on it. I looked at the watch, gleaming on his wrist as he subtly checked the time. I looked at my parents' earnest, disappointed faces. A cold, clear understanding crystallized inside me. This wasn't an oversight. This wasn't a mistake. This was the truth, finally naked and undeniable. I was not the child they celebrated. I was the child they tolerated, the project they were perpetually frustrated with, the shadow to Kyle's son. The lecture wound down with a final, withering sigh from my father. We just want you to be happy, Lena. But happiness requires effort. You understand. I understood perfectly. I smiled. It felt like cracking ice on my face. Thank you, I said, my voice eerily calm. That was really insightful. Can I cut the cake? My mother looked relieved. Of course, dear. Kyle, help your sister. Kyle, with his new timepiece, leapt to assist. We cut into Champion. I ate a slice. It was vanilla bean, Kyle's favorite. It tasted like ash and endings. I laughed at my dad's lame joke. I helped clean up. I was the picture of cheerful acquiescence. I laughed along so I wouldn't cry. Because if I started crying, I was afraid I would never, ever stop. Upstairs in my room, the quiet was absolute. The cheer I'd plastered on my face dissolved, leaving behind a numb, surgical emptiness. I didn't rage. I didn't sob. I moved with a methodical, detached precision. This was my last night in this house. I'd known it the moment I saw the cake, but the lecture had simply turned the key and locked the decision in place. I pulled my old, faded Jansport backpack from the closet. I didn't take much. What here was truly mine. The green sweater, a pair of jeans, 2 t-shirts, underwear, socks. My toothbrush. My charger. The cheap laptop I'd bought with babysitting money. I folded my one precious possession, a vintage band hoodie I'd found at a thrift store, soft, gray, with a faded logo of a band I'd never listened to. It felt like armor. From beneath a loose floorboard under my bed, I retrieved my escape fund. $67 in crumpled bills and coins, accumulated from forgotten lunch money, returned soda cans, and the occasional covert 5 from my sympathetic aunt. I took 60. I left the 7. A final, stupid gesture of something. Fairness? I don't know. I wrote no note. What would it say? You gave him a watch and me a list of flaws. I'm leaving. They wouldn't get it. They'd see it as more teenage drama. Another example of my poor judgment. At 2:17 a.m., when the house was a tomb of satisfied sleep, I slipped out my window. It was a practice move. I'd done it a dozen times to sit on the roof and stare at the stars. This time, I shimmied down the sturdy oak tree beside the house, my backpack snug against my shoulders. My feet hit the damp grass. I didn't look back. I just started walking, the hoodie pulled up against the chill, $60 in my pocket, and a vast, terrifying freedom screaming in my ears. The first week was a blur of adrenaline and fear. I walked to the bus station, for miles away. I used 40 of my dollars on a one-way ticket to the next big city, a place 200 miles away where I knew no one and no one knew me. I spent the ride staring out the window, watching my old life shrink into a speck. I felt nothing. It was a blessed, hollow nothing. The city was a beast of noise and light. I got off the bus, disoriented. My remaining $20 bought me a greasy meal and a night in the 24-hour laundromat, dozing fitfully on a hard plastic chair, hugging my backpack. Survival mode kicked in. I found a youth shelter, a grim, institutional place that smelled of bleach and despair, but it had a roof and a cot. I lied about my age, said I was 19. I got a job within 3 days, washing dishes in a steamy, chaotic diner called the Greasy Spoon. The pay was cash, under the table, just above nothing. My hands turned red and prune-like. I didn't care. The work was mindless, physical, and honest. No lectures. Just dirty plates and a surly cook who grunted orders. I rented a cot in a shared, roach-infested room in a boarding house with 3 other girls in similarly desperate straits. We didn't talk much. We were all ghosts. I worked, I slept, I ate the diner's leftover hash browns. I became a machine of survival. I thought about my family in abstract terms, like a historical event that had happened to someone else. The pain was there, but it was buried under layers of exhaustion and the immediate demands of staying alive. My phone, a cheap prepaid burner I'd bought after my first paycheck, stayed silent. I'd left my old one, with all its contacts, on my bedroom dresser. A clean break. Or so I thought. 2 weeks to the day after I left, I was behind the diner, hauling a bag of reeking garbage to the dumpster. The burner phone vibrated in my pocket. An unknown number. My city area code. I almost didn't answer. But a thread of paranoia pulled at me. What if it was the shelter? The diner? I wiped my hands on my apron and answered. Hello. The sound that came through the speaker wasn't a voice at first. It was a wet, ragged, heaving sound. Then a broken whisper. Lena. It was my father. But not my father as I knew him. This voice was shattered. Lena, baby, is that you? He was sobbing. Actually, physically sobbing. I'd never heard him cry. Not when his father died. Not ever. I leaned against the rough brick wall, the greasy bag forgotten at my feet. I said nothing. We've been looking, the police. They said you left voluntarily. They can't. Lena, please. He took a shuddering breath that hitched into another sob. Your room. It's still here. Everything is just as you left it. Your green sweater is on the chair. Please pick up. Please talk to me. The raw pleading in his voice was a physical shock. It bypassed all my defenses, all my numb resolve, and speared me right in the gut. This was the man who had delivered the lecture with the calm certainty of a judge. Now he sounded like a lost child. I found my voice, but it was cold, foreign. I am picking up. I'm here. A choked sound. You're alive. Thank God. Oh, thank God. He wept openly for a moment. Where are you? Are you safe? Are you hurt? We'll come get you right now. Just tell us where. I'm safe, I said flatly. I'm not coming back. Lena, don't say that. We didn't know. The words tumbled out, desperate, messy. Your birthday, the cake. God, Lena, it was a mistake. A horrible, stupid mistake. Your mother ordered it weeks ago. She got the dates confused, and then she was too embarrassed to admit it when it arrived. She thought we could just... I don't know what she thought. And the watch, it was already planned for Kyle, a reward for... It doesn't matter. None of it matters. We failed you. I failed you. I listened. The coldness inside me was a glacier, but his words were like acid rain, sizzling against the surface. The lecture wasn't a mistake, Dad. That was all you. He moaned, a sound of pure agony. I know. I have no excuse. I was blind. I've been blind for years. We both have. Seeing your empty room, it's like a tomb. It's been killing us. Your mother, she hasn't slept. She just sits in your room. She won't touch anything. She just sits and cries. Kyle, he took the watch off. He won't wear it. He's a wreck. He says he didn't realize. He says he's so sorry. A part of me, the wounded, 18-year-old part, wanted to drink this in. Wanted to savor their pain. See what you did? But the larger part, the part that had hauled garbage and scrubbed pans and slept on a cot, just felt tired. Good, I said, but it lacked venom. Please, Lena, give us a chance. One chance to make it right. We'll do anything. Therapy, family counseling, whatever you want. Just come home. Or let us see you. Let us know you're okay. I am okay, I said, and for the first time, I realized it was true. I was surviving. I was free. I need more than an apology for a cake mix-up, Dad. I need you to understand what you did. What you've been doing my whole life. I think. I'm starting to, he whispered. The police officer, when we filed the report, he asked us to describe you. Not just physically, who you were, your interests, your friends, your dreams. And your mother and I, we looked at each other. And we couldn't. We knew Kyle's GPA, his debate scores, his college prospects. We could list your failures. But who you are, we drew a blank. That's when it broke, Lena. That's when I knew what we'd lost. Tears pricked my own eyes then, hot and furious. I swallowed them back. You lost me the day you decided Kyle was the only one worth celebrating. I know. A long silence, filled only by his shaky breathing. I don't deserve your forgiveness. But I am begging you, not to come home. Just don't disappear. Let us try. Let us earn a place in your life, even if it's a small one. You can set the rules. All the rules. I looked around my reality, the grimy alley, the stinking dumpster, my dishwater-stained hands. This was hard, but it was mine. I had built it. The thought of going back to that house, to that room preserved like a museum of my neglect, made me feel claustrophobic. I'm not coming home, I repeated, my voice firmer. But you can have this number. For now, no calls after 9 p.m. I work. Don't ask for my address. Don't send the police. Don't send Kyle. If you respect those rules, you can call me once a week. On Sunday. For 15 minutes. It was more than I'd planned to give. But his sobs, his blankness when asked to describe me, it had cracked something. He seized the offer like a lifeline. Yes. Yes, of course. Anything. Thank you, Lena. Thank you. I have to go. I said, the emotional whiplash exhausting me. Okay. Well, we'll talk Sunday. We love you. I know that means nothing right now, but we do. I hung up without responding. I stood in the alley for a long time, the city sounds swirling around me. The glacier inside had shifted. It hadn't melted, but a fissure had appeared. I felt strangely heavy. The next Sunday, at precisely 7 p.m., my phone rang. I was in my shared room, on my cot. I let it ring 3 times before answering. Hello. It was my mother this time. Her voice was thin, scraped raw. Lena? Hi. It's Mom. She sounded terrified. Hi. How are you? Are you eating? I'm fine. I have a job. I'm eating. Short, factual. She tried to make conversation, stumbling over her words. She asked about the weather where I was. She told me, haltingly, that she'd taken down the birthday decorations. What decorations? She said she'd packed away the cake stand. She was talking around the crater in our lives, tiptoeing on the edges. Then she broke. I'm so sorry, Lena. For the cake. For everything. I was embarrassed. I'm a perfectionist. It's a flaw. I ordered the wrong date and was too proud to fix it. I thought you wouldn't mind. I see now how monstrous that was. I don't expect you to believe me, but I love you so much. It just came out all wrong. It was the first time I'd ever heard my mother admit a flaw. A real one. Not a self-deprecating, I worked too hard flaw. A real, hurting people flaw. Okay, I said. It was all I could muster. The call was stilted, painful, and exactly 15 minutes long. I ended it. The Sunday calls became a ritual. A tense, awkward, weekly checkpoint. Sometimes it was my dad, sometimes my mom. They never broke the rules. They called at 7, hung up at 7:15. They asked small, careful questions. They told me mundane things. The dog was at the vet. They'd painted the garage. They were learning to talk to me. I was learning to listen without my defenses at DEFCON 1. After a month of this, my dad, during his call, said, "We found a therapist. A family therapist. We've been going. Just the 2 of us. And Kyle is seeing someone separately. We're trying to understand." That surprised me. Actual action. Not just words. "What do you talk about?" I asked, against my better judgment. He hesitated. "We talk about you. The therapist makes us describe memories of you. Good ones. It's hard. We're realizing how many we missed. How we only saw you in relation to Kyle. It's painful, but it's good." A few weeks later, a package arrived at the diner, addressed to me in my mother's precise handwriting. My heart hammered. I opened it with wary hands. Inside wasn't money or gifts or guilt. It was a simple, unmarked notebook. A note was paper-clipped to the front. "Lena, the therapist suggested this. A memory book. We are to write down memories of you as we remember them, or as we discover them by talking to relatives, looking at old photos. Not achievements. Just you. We are giving this to you, incomplete as it is, so you can see we are trying. No need to acknowledge. We love you. Mom and Dad." I flipped through it. The entries were clumsy, heartbreaking in their simplicity. Page 1. "Dad, I remember when you were 3, you lined up all your stuffed animals on the stairs and taught them the alphabet. You were so serious. I thought it was cute, then got annoyed because I tripped on the bear. I'm sorry I got annoyed." Page 4. "Mom, when you were 7, you made me a perfume from rose petals and water in a little bottle. It smelled like mud and roses. I put it on my dresser and told you I wore it every day. I didn't. I threw it away after a week when it grew mold. I wish I'd kept it." Page 12. "Dad, Aunt Carol told us that at her wedding, when you were 10, you spent an hour talking to her elderly grandmother who everyone else ignored. You brought her cake and lemonade. Carol said you were the only one who made her feel seen that day. We never knew that." The entries were apologies in the form of rediscovery. They were excavating a daughter they had buried under expectations and comparisons. I cried then, for the first time since I'd left. Not the violent, angry sobs I'd suppressed on my birthday, but a deep, grieving cry for the little girl they'd missed and for the chasm that now lay between us. I didn't call them, but the next Sunday, when my mom called, my voice was less icy. "I got the notebook," I said. She inhaled sharply. "Oh, okay. You don't have to read it." I read it. A pause. "What did you think?" "It's a start," I said. And it was. Time passed. I got a better job, a slightly better room. I started taking community college classes online. I was building a life, brick by brick. The Sunday calls continued. The memory book got a second volume. They sent photos sometimes, with captions like, "Found this. You were 4, covered in finger paint. You looked so happy. I never sent any back, but I saved them in a folder on my laptop. Kyle called me one day, on a Wednesday, breaking the rule. I almost didn't answer. Lena, it's me. Please, just hear me out. I answered. You're breaking the rule. I know. I'll take any punishment. I need to say this. His voice was different. Older, stripped of its easy confidence. The watch is in a drawer. I can't look at it. It makes me feel sick. I've been in therapy too. I told my therapist I always knew, on some level, that I was the favorite. I liked it. I exploited it. I never stood up for you. I let you be the scapegoat so I could stay the golden child. I am so sorry. I wasn't just a bystander. I was a participant. I lost a sister, and I only have myself to blame. I listened, silent. My relationship with Kyle had always been a non-relationship. We were satellites in the same orbit, never colliding, never connecting. I don't expect you to forgive me, he continued, his voice thick. But if you ever want to talk, as adults, not as our parents' kids, I'm here. I'd like to know my sister. I didn't promise anything, but I said, okay, Kyle. 6 months after I left, my dad asked, during a Sunday call, would you consider meeting? In a public place. For coffee. Just for half an hour. No pressure. We'll come to you, wherever you are. The old fear and anger surged. No. Okay. He said immediately, no argument. The offer stands. Always. But the seed was planted. I was stronger now. I had my own money, my own place, my own fragile sense of self. The idea of seeing them wasn't a threat to my survival anymore. It was just a possibility. A scary one. Another month passed. One Sunday, I said, there's a diner called the City Grid, downtown. I'll meet you there next Saturday at 10 a.m. For 1 hour. If you're late, I leave. If you bring anyone else, I leave. If you try to hug me or make a scene, I leave. The silence on the other end was profound. Then, a choked, yes. Yes, of course. We'll be there. Thank you, Lena. Saturday arrived. I wore my thrift store hoodie, my armor. I got to the diner early and chose a booth in the back. My heart was a frantic bird in my chest. At 9:59, I saw them through the window. They looked smaller, older. My father's shoulders were slumped. My mother's hair had more gray. They stood on the sidewalk, clutching each other's hands like kids on the first day of school. They took a deep, synchronized breath and walked in. They saw me. They stopped. My mother's hand flew to her mouth. My father's eyes filled instantly. They didn't rush over. They walked slowly, carefully, to my booth. Hi, my dad said, his voice trembling. Hi, I said. They slid into the booth opposite me. There was a long, heavy silence. They just looked at me, drinking me in, their eyes swimming with a mixture of relief, shame, and love so raw it was hard to look at. My mom spoke first. You look tired, but good, strong. I am, I said. The hour was agonizing and electric. We didn't talk about the past. We talked about my job, my classes. They told me, haltingly, about their therapy. They didn't make excuses. They used words like accountability and emotional neglect. They listened, really listened. When I talked about my philosophy class, my dad didn't ask about the grade. He asked what philosopher I found most interesting. At the 55-minute mark, my dad slid a small, unwrapped box across the table. It was plain cardboard. This is not a birthday present, he said quickly. It's not a bribe. It's the symbol. You don't have to open it now. Or ever. I looked at the box. I opened it. Inside, on a bed of cotton, was a watch. A simple, elegant, minimalist watch with a pale leather band and a clean white face. It was nothing like Kyle's. It was understated, classic. It's not expensive, my mom whispered. We sold to Hamilton. We used the money for our first month of therapy. This was bought with what was left. It's not about the time. It's about a new start. Your time. Your life. It starts when you say it does. I looked at the watch. I looked at their faces, etched with hope and terror. The glacier in my chest, that massive block of pain and anger, didn't melt. But a huge chunk of it calved away and crashed into an ocean of something else. Not forgiveness. Not yet. But maybe the possibility of it, someday. I didn't put the watch on. I put the lid back on the box. Thank you, I said. And I meant it. The hour was up. I stood. They stood, too, looking helpless. I'll call you next Sunday, I said. They nodded, tears streaming down my mother's face now. Okay, my dad said. We'll be here. I walked out of the diner. The sun was bright. I put my hand in my hoodie pocket, my fingers brushing the cardboard box. I didn't look back. But for the first time, the future ahead didn't feel like a lonely road I had to walk alone. It felt like a wide-open space, and I held the map. The revenge I'd sought wasn't in their tears or their pleading calls. It was in my own two hands, building a life they could no longer diminish. And maybe, just maybe, it was in the power to decide if, one day, I might let them visit it. On my terms. In my time.